Hello guys, this is Movie Lover and welcome to this movie lover world. While making love, a charming blonde binds her partner with a white silk handkerchief. When finished, she pulls out an ice pick and sends the man to his death. The crime is investigated by Detective Nick Caron and his partner Gus Morin. The victim is a famous rock musician named Johnny Boz who loved music, illegal substances, and easy girls. He's known to have died at 2 in the morning and was seen leaving the nightclub at midnight with a girl. After discovering the name of the musician's companion, the cops visit an author named Katrin Trammell, but she isn't at home. In her place, the cops are greeted by a bisexual Roxy who informs them of her lover's whereabouts. The detectives find Catherine at a country house and learn that she was indeed at a nightclub and had been intimate with the musician, but she tells them that she's gone home rather than to his house. Trying to overcome his alcohol and nicotine addictions, Nick attends a counseling session with police psychologist Dr. Beth Garner. He wants to prove his sanity since he recently accidentally shot and killed 2 tourists in the line of fire not so long ago. The detective and the psychologist had an affair, but now it's a thing of the past. At the station, the cops examined Catherine's file and learned that she is a millionaire. She's a widow of a famous boxer who fought in the heavyweight division. Finding the writer's book, Nick realizes that the crime is exactly the same as the one in her novels. From that moment on, the girl becomes the prime suspect. A police analyst has also studied the book and comes to the conclusion that the perpetrator could be the author of the book or someone who wants to frame her. Realizing that the investigation team needs to talk to Catherine, Nick goes to the girl's country house and invites her to the station for a chat. Nick notices Catherine changing clothes and seems to be attracted to her. During the interrogation, Catherine behaves provocatively and arouses the detectives. She taunts the investigation team and smokes in the room, ignoring all the rules. Catherine has an alibi for the night of the murder. She also manages to pass a lie detector test and gets the cops to apologize for the inconvenience. Nick agrees to give the girl a ride home and discovers that she's noticed him looking at her naked body. Catherine isn't all embarrassed by all of this. She's much more interested in learning about Nick and how he shot those tourists. Not wanting to continue the conversation, he drives the girl home and then goes to a bar with his partner. Lieutenant Marty Nielsen intervenes in the dialogue with Gus, provoking his colleague into a confrontation. They are stopped by Beth, who later invites Nick to her house. After making love, Beth revealed that she went to a school with Catherine and knows her very well. The next morning, the police discover that Catherine had a teacher long ago who was murdered by someone with an ice pick. Trying to find out more about Catherine, Nick follows her, but she somehow manages to get away. After finding Catherine's car, he learns that she's been visiting a woman named Hazel Dawkins. In the evening, he tries to chase Catherine again, but another chase ends up fruitless. At the station, he tries to find information on the mysterious stranger. This is when Gus remembers Hazel's case, who was an ordinary housewife until she murdered her husband and 3 children. The next day, the detective visits Catherine and notices newspaper clippings dedicated to him on her desk. The girl wields a knife with ease and crushes the ice, which makes Nick very nervous. Trying to find out about Hazel, he discovers that the writer is in constant contact with criminals as they serve as inspiration for writing a new detective novel. Catherine tries to seduce Nick, hoping that he will become her new book hero, but Nick has the stamina to push her away. Inappropriate questions about tourist incident make it clear that Catherine has somehow become familiar with his psychological profile. After bursting into Beth's office, Nick demands a confession and learns that Beth has passed the information on to her supervisor. She tries to explain that Marty threatened to fire her and left her no other choice. Enraged, Nick attacks Marty, but he is thrown out by his own colleagues. That night, the boss is found with a bullet in his head fired from a gauge revolver. Suspecting the detective, the police station suspension from duty until further clarification. But the next day, Nick is questioned, but he behaves just as provocatively as Catherine did some time ago. Beth tries to protect Nick and excuses him by giving him an alibi. While packing his things, Nick learns that Catherine's parents have died under mysterious circumstances. On his return home, he meets Catherine on the doorstep and invites her in. During the conversation, Catherine shows him one of her first books, the plot of which is similar to her life. The child, determined to see if he can be punished, murders his parents and becomes a wealthy heir. The same night Nick goes to a nightclub for a date with Catherine. Roxy leaves the couple alone and lets them dance, after which they move to the bedroom. While making love, Catherine pulls out a white silk scarf from under her pillow and ties the detective up, not allowing him to touch her. Nick then discovers that Catherine's friend has been watching them from the hole and that she enjoys watching Catherine making love to other men. The next morning the couple take a walk on the beach and Catherine warns Nick to be careful and not to play games with her. Nick is convinced that despite his crush on Catherine he will be able to objectively prove her guilt in court. At the bar he tells his partner Gus what's going on, and angry Gus realizes that Catherine is dangerous and should not be messed with, as all her loved ones are killed or turned out to be criminals. On his return home Nick is attacked out of nowhere. He chases the car but it flies off the bridge. He sees that the woman in the car was Roxy, who died in the accident. When he arrives at Catherine's house, Nick realizes that Catherine sincerely misses her friend and mourns for her after they make love. Nick learns about her unfortunate relationships with girls. As a student she slept with Lisa Hoberman, who began stalking her, trying to find data on Lisa. Nick finds nothing because of a ridiculous typo. Checking the details again, he discovers that Lisa and Beth are one and the same person. At the psychologist's house Nick demands a confession and learns that it was the other way around, and that it was Catherine who pursued her and became obsessed with her, mimicking her hair, makeup, and the way she talks to people. While Nick and Catherine were spending time together, she tells Nick about a new book dedicated to him. At the end of the book somehow is bound to die, as no one is interested in happy ending and the novel would not sell. Investigating Beth's past, Nick learns that she had a husband, but he was shot with a caliber revolver, as was Lieutenant Marty. Back at Catherine's country house he accidentally reads the last pages of the new book on the fiction. He finds his partner's body in an elevator. At the same time Catherine says that her novel is over, which means that their relationship is also over. That evening Nick meets with Gus and learns that he's received a call from Catherine's classmates who wants to talk and shed the truth about their past. They arrive at the office and Gus leaves for the meeting. Nick wanted to go with him, but he asks him to stay in the car as Nick is still suspended. As soon as Gus leaves for the building, Nick realized that something is wrong and runs after him. At the same time Gus arrives on the 4th floor and gets out of the elevator, but he is attacked and murdered by an unknown man with an ice pick. Gus in a pool of blood. Nick searches for the perpetrator and meets Beth in the hallway. She says she's got a message from Gus and reaches into her pocket to show him, thinking there's a gun in her pocket. Nick shoots her without hesitating, but when he checks her pocket he realizes there was just a bunch of keys instead of a gun. Just before she passes away, Beth tells Nick that she loves him. Police officers arrive at the scene and search Beth's home, where they find evidence proving her guilt: an ice pick and a revolver. Confirmed that Beth was the one who killed the rock musician, the policeman, and her husband. Nick, unable to believe the reality of what is happening, returns home where he is met by Catherine. The two start to talk about a happy future. Catherine doesn't want children, but she enjoys spending time with Nick, deciding to forget about the horror. The couple kiss again. At that precise moment an ice pick is shown under the bed. And with that the movie ends. Thanks for watching. Movie Lover will meet you again with new story. Till take care.